Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of She Who Remembers. I'm your host, Antonia Bova, and today we are going to talk about the next phase of processing stored trauma, stored emotions, and anything that might be disrupting your day-to-day. So last week we spoke a ton about observing how you feel in specific moments, whether it be a trigger, whether it be I'm just annoyed over this specific thing, any frustration, any sadness, and really just observing how your body feels in that moment. And so I didn't want you to do anything. I didn't want you to journal or try to process it or try to go to AI to figure out why you were feeling this particular way, just to notice it within your body. So after this becomes more of a normal practice where you can really turn inward and start looking at why you're feeling a certain way when certain things happen, you'll start to be able to then form different connections to things and figure out the root cause of why that may be appearing for you. So essentially, today I want to talk about the next step of starting to process some of those sticky emotions and things that come up that are taking you away from your baseline or from any sort of happiness or joy or fulfillment, period. So essentially, trauma gets stored in the body. It gets stored in your tissues. If you've ever read the book, The Body Keeps Score, it really goes into the science of it. And so from childhood, we have a lot of suppressed emotions that are in different parts of our body, and it can feel and look and be different to everybody. It can be a different temperature, a different, color, a different shape, essentially. So like for me specifically, I have a pretty heavy trauma that will show up in the center of my chest, and it's black, and I call it a creepy crawler because it almost feels like it can crawl out of me. And so for everybody, it's going to be a different sort of emotion, but these are traumas that we need to get out of our system, because especially if they've been in the body for a long time, they just get stored there, and then it ends up turning into an ailment, a disease, cancer, the list goes on and on and on. So when you are observing how you're feeling in a specific moment, and maybe your heart starts beating faster, or you start to feel just like loads of anxiety or fear or anything that's like low vibration, you're then going to want to ask yourself, what is causing me to feel this way in this moment? So I'll just, throughout this episode, use my trauma as an example so that you can understand how it may pertain to you. And if you're really wanting to go through something that you've been through in the past that you've been trying to work through, maybe talk therapy hasn't been working for you and you're looking for different modalities or things to heal whatever is within, reach out to me. My Instagram is House of Antonia Co. And we can have a conversation, work one-on-one, and I can help give you different tools and resources and modalities to help heal that thing. Because talk therapy, while it's great, it's kind of what we're taught as a society, like, oh, you're not feeling great, you're going through something, like go to therapy. But talk therapy only takes you so far. There's definitely an expiration on what it can do in terms of getting deep-rooted trauma out of your system and out of your body. So I'm not saying therapy is bad. Therapy is incredible. We need to talk about it. But a lot of people are, using AI now and using AI as therapists, or going to close, friends or trusted mentors to really talk about the things that they're going through. But it's really being able to find these other modalities that will help you heal yourself and heal from within. And so, for example, I used to journal as a child, and if you're anything like me, your mom went through your journal, and so I completely stopped. I burned all of my journals. I was done with this. I feel like my privacy was really invaded, and so I just said, the heck with it. I'm just gonna process my emotions in my own brain. And it was years and years of just not journaling, not really being able to put the emotions onto paper. And then I found a application on my computer where I could journal on my computer. And so that became my lifeline for a few years, where I was really journaling on my computer. And it was easy because my mind moved so fast that, being able to type, it was quick. I was firing all my thoughts. And I have a mentor now, my teacher, who, as we're working on still the trauma that's been in my body for now, say like 6 years, he's like, no, you need to take a wooden pencil, number 2 pencil, and you need to write on a journal, period, like no exceptions. So he's like, there's something with the lead inside of the wood. He's like, our ancestors did it this way, and you need to journal. Like there's such a mind to, hand connection, like the neural pathways of you being able to process in ways that this is not really, able to do. So get yourself number 2 pencils, a journal, and you're definitely going to need a pencil sharpener. I take this thing literally everywhere with me. I'm journaling for like an hour. I'm just sharpening my pencil 100 times, but it really has been working. And so he calls it the onion exercise. Essentially, what you'll do is you will name the thing that's bothering you. So, for example, okay, you receive a message that's really off-putting and your heart starts beating faster. Okay, that's rooting to some sort of trauma, right? When is the earliest that I started feeling this way? And really you start writing about the earliest time that you started feeling that way, and then you journal about the whole situation, and you let all of the emotions just like throw up onto the page, and you just let it process through you. Cry, feel the anger, feel the everything, the rage, the sadness, the scarcity, the fear, the, lack of it, awareness that you had, in that specific situation that led this to be, what it is today. And so really just write all of that out for half the time. So say it's like 10 minutes, 20 minutes for the next 10 minutes, 20 minutes. And don't sit there with a timer and get all, analytical about it for my type A people. Just use your, your best judgment. Just half the time write about, all of the situations, let it really come up, let it really process, and then take the next half of that time and write all of the lessons that you learned from that situation, and then finish with the gratitude in it. So this is allowing you to weigh out both the positive and the negative and allow them to exist together. It's like this polarity, right, of like, here's all the things that I was feeling, here's what was really traumatic, and here are all the bad feelings, but now here's, why I'm so grateful for it and everything that I learned from it, and it's made me who I am today. And you really get to see like the positive things that did come out of that karma, out of that situation. So this is a really beautiful exercise that you can start doing, and it can even be for the most minute things, because typically every feeling of anxiety or scarcity or whatever that do come up, typically those things are tied to something in childhood that's just a repeated pattern in your body that hasn't been released yet. It's been stored, and so these micro things that are, coming into your field, that's why it's triggering you. You're like, oh, why this person pissed me off? Oh, well, it's probably because in school, this kid bullied me over this, and then this person's coming here in adulthood, showing up like XYZ. And so it's like your body just really reacts. And so it's really crazy when you get to kind of break these things apart and understand the root cause of why, and then simply let it go. And so a lot of these, journaling practices can be coupled with meditations and coupled with just time and stillness, mindful walks, sound healing. There are so many other ways to let these emotions flow through you. And that is specifically too why I speak of talk therapy only getting you to a certain point, because the whole idea of trauma leaving your body and being able to be fully processed and being able to get to a point of being fully healed, because yes, it is possible. Granted, things will continue happening. Of course, we're not going to live these perfect lives. There will always be resistance and things thrown in your path. You'll just learn how to heal from it faster, easier, and you'll learn how to handle it better. But if you just are talking about it, that's only going to take you so far. We need to move the energy to get it out of its stored place in our body. Emotion is energy in motion. So you can even just have little dance parties, in your place and be able to do like somatic dancing or stretching. A lot of trauma for women specifically is stored in the hips. Really stretching the hips and noticing where your body's hurting. That might be where your trauma is stored. So it's very interesting when you start to understand and really recognize these things, and then you're able to make the mindful connections to them. So with this, I want to share something that I just heard the other day that completely changed my life with the trauma that I have been personally moving through. And my friend Stephanie sent me this podcast and it blew my mind. I'll link it in the show notes, so if anybody's interested, they can watch it. But Zach Bush speaks about the fact that every situation that you're in, it's a triangle. There's the victim, there's the perpetrator, and then there's the savior. So he said if it's just the perpetrator and the victim, essentially it would just disappear. It wouldn't be able to continue on. But the piece of the savior is what keeps this trauma from being able to live on for, decades and lifetimes. And this can be so large scale and so small scale. He used an example of the Me Too movement and how there's like wounded masculine and how this movement is keeping the masculine in a very wounded space. And I'm not talking about men. There's masculine energy in every single one of us, as well as feminine energy in every single one of us. But essentially, whatever, really traumatic thing that you've been through in your life, you have played each part in it. You have been the victim in it, you have been the perpetrator in it, and you have been the savior in it. And I know this can be a really tough pill for our egos to swallow if something, really like messed you up and you're really not okay and you're like, well, it wasn't my fault. Okay. But there was a part of you that perpetrated it because you let it happen for the time being of how and when it happened. And then, being the savior in it is trying to fix it, trying to heal the other person, trying to make everything better, trying to, shed the light to the other people of, well, here's what I went through. And so, using your ego to really try and like heal the other people from this like wounded space. And so basically he's saying the triage it's all encompassing. All of it is one. In every situation, there is the victim, the perpetrator, the savior, and you are doing all of it, and so is the other party, so is the other person, people, etc. So, I take in my situation that I'd been healing from for years, where I'm just like, ooh, how am I letting this go? How am I, really understanding how to live in a new way and, accepting, the 5 stages of grief are a bitch, they're tough. And so, more things would come up and trigger me, and then I'm sitting here like you get a little frustrated. You're like, I've been doing this for so long and still like I'm being affected by it. Like, what is the disconnect here? And it was the fact that I didn't take full accountability for my part in it, period. So I was really able to, in my journal, go through the whole situation and be like, I was perpetrating this situation. Yes, it was, me being naive and a lack of knowledge at the time of knowing how to handle something of this magnitude. I had no idea what was happening. Like, I'd never been through that experience before, and so, yes, I had to show myself grace, of course, at the end after I wrote out, like, I perpetrated this. And then I was the savior for this person in this. And that was my doing. That was my fault. Was I also a victim in it? Absolutely. But I was also the perpetrator, and I was also the savior. And so then you're able to take the healing and you're able to heal yourself. You don't need the other person to heal. You don't need them to change. You don't need to say, oh, they need to just see. I wish they could see. Nope. It's not your responsibility to heal them. It's not your responsibility to tell them what they don't know. It's their karma. It's their life. And they're meant to go through it on their terms. If we sit here and we try to like shake these people and be like, no, here's what you did and why, and blah, blah. They're never going to hear you. You're just wasting your breath. You're wasting your energy. You need to be able to forgive yourself for whatever situation has happened and then be able to transmute it and heal yourself. Get that trauma out of your body. Realize, okay, here are the lessons that I learned. Never again. I'm never going to let that happen again. Now I know better. If you learned a lesson and then you let it keep repeating itself, that's not good. Then you're stuck in a loop. We want to ascend up the spiral because typically universal laws, the same thing will continue happening in worse and worse ways if you're just staying in the loop. So you're in this toxic relationship and you don't break up with the guy. Great, it's either just going to get way worse because you're not letting that person go, or you're going to be in the same relationship with a different person over and over and over, and it's just going to get worse till you finally learn your lesson. But when you do learn these lessons and you ascend and this thing comes back to you so that you can be tested, so that you can see, have I learned my lesson? Can I show the universe that I've really been able to put up my boundaries, I've been able to do this thing, then whoa. And that is a really cool place to be in when that thing, is right in front of you and you recognize, okay, here it is, game on. And you do what you need to do, whether it is asserting a boundary and letting that person know, hey, I am not okay with this, or hey, I'm not the person to speak to about this. Hey, you shouldn't be speaking about this person this way, or whatever the situation or the case may be. Again, this is for the collective, this podcast. So there are thousands and thousands of different situations that can come up. But yeah, I think I'm going to leave this here. I know this was like quite a bit, but keep staying really mindful in your observation of how you're feeling with other people and the situations, everything that I talked about in last week's episode, and then really just start journaling it out. And I don't want this to feel like a drag or like it's anything too crazy, because I think once you start feeling and seeing the benefits of what this can really do for you, you'll look forward to journaling every day. It's like going to the gym and you're like, oh, I don't want to go to the gym. But then you start going and you stay consistent with it and you start to see results and you're like, ooh, now I can't wait for the gym. It becomes like a part of this really beautiful healing wellness, practice for you. So that is the same thing as journaling. I want you to fall in love with the practice and know like this is a form of self-love. This is me healing. This is me really being able to take all of the things that I've just suppressed and pushed down and stored in my body and be able to start releasing some of that weight, letting some of it go, because damn, it's heavy. Damn, it's heavy. It's not the easiest thing being a human, having so many emotions. It is a blessing, of course, but we need to be facing these emotions. We can't just go through life saying we're unbothered or I don't care. You care. You care. Don't let the ego come in and try to block your intuition. It's okay to feel the emotions. It's okay to let it come out of you. Yeah, it sucks. Yeah, it's heavy. It's dark. It's a purge. Sometimes, like when I'm going through like these really heavy things, all I want to do is sleep, and I'll sleep for like 10 hours. So my body's integrating and processing and releasing. It's like drink a lot of water, hydrate, take extra good care of yourself, take baths, eat nourishing foods. Your body will start to tell you what foods it really needs. It's very, very beautiful when you start really opening up to this path and the way that your body and nature and everything starts to communicate with you. It is all one. We're just so distracted and blocked that we can't see it. So this is also why I get my little fresh flowers. Like, it's so beautiful having so much life in your space and making your space so healing. You know, I have my cats and they're my comfort, they're my emotional support. So let me know if you have any questions. This is just kind of the next step. And then next week I do want to talk to you guys about taking all of the beliefs that, you know, as you're starting to really process and go through a lot of these things, you'll start to see things that just don't even align with you, that you were taught by society or about family. And so we'll start to be able to talk about how to take those beliefs and then rewrite them. So basically unlearn everything that you've ever known and rewrite it so that it actually aligns with your authentic self. So stay tuned. That episode will be coming next week. Again, my Instagram is at House of Antonia Co. And I'll link everything in the show notes if you guys want to watch the podcast about the perpetrator, victim, and savior. And I just thank you guys so much for supporting. I'll see you soon. Happy healing.